It's called Ghost Adventures.
Oh, yeah. So I've been watching the show called Ghost Adventures. It came out in like 2008, but they went to the Cecil Hotel where that girl, Lisa Lamb, died. The one that was like in the elevator and like she was acting really strange. I don't know if you remember that whole thing. I think it was like 2013. And she like, there was surveillance footage of her like talking to someone outside the elevator, but there was nobody there. And she did like all these weird hand movements. And anyway, they had found her body in the water tank on the roof. And they couldn't figure out how she had gotten in there and closed it behind her. But she obviously died. So they were able to convince the hotel to let them go and investigate, I guess, like during COVID, because there weren't as many guests and stuff. And it's on Discovery Plus, and it was really fucking creepy. Like, it was a really cool episode. So we've been like binging like a bunch of episodes by them. We just like watched this episode where this guy is like an occultist, and he bought this like apparently like demonic household, and like it's just the weirdest shit, man. I'm like honestly, it's only white people that do this stuff. like that's just like they're like he's like I like to speak to demons, you know. And it's just like what the fuck is going on here, man? Like you fucking weirdo. He like lives in California, but he's like pale as shit. He has like no fucking windows open in his house, and he's just like he does like a seance, and he's like yes, I can sense the spirits, and I'm just like I've been fucking laughing at this guy, like as creepy as this shit is, you know. And like he's got like all these fucking weird like paintings of him as the devil and stuff, and they're just like so like are you like into demons? And he's just like, you know, I welcome anything across the border. I'm just like, okay. Wow.
Sounds like he's like horny but paranormal.
Yes, yeah. He has a roommate too, and she's like, they're like, are you comfortable with him like summoning demons in here? She's like, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with it. It's what he does. And then she's like, so this thing's been laying on my chest at night, and it doesn't allow me to breathe or wake up. And it's just like, okay.
Oh, the incubus. Yes.
It's just
from,
like
sleep paralysis.
It's like, what the fuck like is wrong with you people?
If any of our listeners out there either are aware of black ghost hunters, please let us know, or any ghost hunters.
There's like 3 brothers that are like famous for ghost hunting, but like this isn't even the ghost hunting team. This is just the dude's house they went to. Like, I'm just like, are there any like people of color that are also occultists? Because I haven't met them ever.
Maybe like witches and pagans, but I don't know. But hey, we're putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Into the world.
I really want to know.
Get back to us. Let us know about that. So I guess I was wrong last week when I said we're not going to have a housekeeping.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, you did say that. You're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then here we are.
Yes, at the very top of the episode, I said we're probably not going to have a housekeeping about it, so we should talk about it. Hey, we got a 5-star review from Crowley.
Hey, Crowley, like the demon from Supernatural or the guy that you knew?
Like both.
Yes.
You know, if you want to keep the Supernatural theme, well, this will be a spooky podcast. We have a 5-star review. Liberal communist trash. But I can't stop listening. Now, I may or may not only like this show because I call Booch, a.k.a. the pseudo-intellectual soy, I think he meant soy boy, but he just said pseudo-intellectual soy, a friend, or Booch's velvet chocolate voice in the ears. Now, I may not agree with everything they say, however, they make points and make me think in a healthy dialogue. Taking on the social and political implications of movies, shows, and also pointing out things I may have never thought or overlooked. Hope these boys keep this going. I know I'll be listening. So,
hey, that's cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Crowley, for your kind words, your 5-star review. Honestly, you could have said some very terrible stuff and kept it a 5-star review, and I would have been for it. I really appreciate it. But that being said, theme song, come on in and give Crowley some more of that liberal communist trash.
Holding my dying cat right now. I mean, no, she's not like dying this second, but like she's, you know, she's going to die at some point. That's why I'm fostering her. And it's just,
aren't we all?
Yeah, but she's like actively, I guess, dying could be the words you would say.
So dying at a more accelerated pace
Yes.
than, let's say, your average cat.
Yes. But she's so damn cute and sweet, and I love holding her.
And hey, that's exactly what she needs. We should all be so lucky as to be held in the sweet embrace in the bosom of Ty.
It's quite the bosom.
Yes, it is. We didn't introduce the show, so here we go. Welcome to Housekeeping, presented by the PolitiPop podcast, the podcast where we take your favorite pop culture media and discuss the social and political themes within. I am your co-host, Mike Booch, a.k.a. the pseudo-intellectual soy, and I'm always happy to be joined by my co-host, Ty.
Hey.
All right, then. Remember, if you want to have your name mentioned in the... He actually disguised his name, but I knew who it was, so imagine.
Shit. He's like, dude, come on.
It's GTCROW13Y. Okay, so maybe he didn't disguise it that well. He put initials and everything in there. It's probably just what IX Booch XI is to me. But yeah, if you want to be mentioned in an episode, please take yourself over to the Apple Podcast app or App Store, wherever you happen to listen to your podcasts, and leave a 5-star review, and that would be fantastic. That is the most and the least you could do at the same time, because all it takes is a couple minutes of your time.
That's
no
right.
No pennies out of your pocket.
That's right. Order yourself an app and leave us a review.
Yes, loaded potato skins, buffalo wings. These are all vegan versions, of course. What are some other good apps?
Mozzarella sticks,
spinach artichoke dip. Those are all solid ones.
They are.
But yeah, so I guess I was wrong. We are going to be having a housekeeping episode.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Oh man, I prepared for something different.
How about we get the serious stuff out of the way first?
Yeah.
Then
we
get
can
it
have
out
a
of the
little
way.
fun. That's fair.
Yeah. So what do you got first?
All right. So this was kind of an interesting situation with GameStop. So I don't know a lot about hedge funds and Wall Street, but
He's a simple man, folks.
From what I do understand was that some hedge fund dudes were going to, I guess, trade stock of GameStop at like a...
Also known as GameStop.
GameStop, yes. At like a lower amount than they should have, so they were going to make a ton of money off it and fuck over GameStop. So there's this Reddit page that has to do with stocks, and they decided they didn't want this to happen. So they came together and they actually bought like GameStop stock, and it soared. I think it was actually like the highest stock for the whole day when they did it, and totally fucked over like all these rich douchebags and lost them a shit ton of money. So that was kind of amazing. That was actually really cool that they did that. So there's an article here from CNBC. It says Melvin Capital hedge fund targeted by Reddit board closes out of GameStop short position. Melvin Capital closed out its short position in GameStop on Tuesday afternoon after taking a huge loss, the hedge fund manager told CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin. GameStop hedge fund's most hated stock was targeted by an army of retail investors who marshaled forces against short sellers in online chat rooms in the Reddit forum Wall Street Bets. With more than 2 million subscribers, rookie investors encourage each other to pile into GameStop shares and call options, creating massive short squeezes in the stock. CNBC cannot confirm the amount of losses Melvin Capital took on the short position. Citadel and Point72 have infused close to $3 billion into Gabe Blockin's hedge fund to shore up its finances. GameStop shares have more than doubled this week alone to nearly $150 a piece, driving its January gains to 685%. The stock was worth just $6 4 months ago. So,
wow,
yeah,
that is insane.
So not necessarily that the people on this Reddit are like heroes or anything, but I think it just goes to show that if people come together, you can do anything, even screw over some rich douchebags. So this hedge fund really got fucked over for trying to do some shady stuff. Again, I don't know a lot about stocks. I did a little bit of research to understand it better. But yeah, so they were going to like try and short sell it, I think it's called. And that's, where they sell it at like or they buy it at a really low rate and sell it high. It was something weird. It's definitely shady.
You want to buy low and sell high.
Yeah, but they did it like in a really quick amount of time that would have been really, really bad, I think, for GameStop stocks. So this really screwed up their plans and raised GameStop stock by a shit ton compared to where they had been just a few months ago. So pretty amazing that a bunch of Redditors were able to do this.
As somebody who has narrated a Wall Street podcast for a couple years as a voiceover artist, I can tell you that I really don't know anything about stocks either. I literally just am an actor who reads a script convincingly, and that is it. But this story works on a few levels for me. The first level is, wow, that you're right. That's amazing. Like that Redditors, a few people, a community who just knows where to put their dollars at the right place, the right time, can really affect a lot of change. Like, I think that's awesome. And I think it's awesome that a bunch of fucking, people who were planning on lining their own pockets at the expense of a failing fucking company.
Yep.
I'm glad that they got fucked as well. However, there is a part of me who has returned a game to GameStop and has gotten so little back, especially with store credit, that, you know what? I was kind of like, all right, if they're going to do that, fuck them. But then as the article went on, I was like, all right, that's fine.
I did hear people compare what this headphone was going to do to what GameStop did when they buy and sell your games. So
they're like, oh, this is a stock you bought at how much? Best we can do is $5.
It's like, I bought it yesterday at $65. They're like, yeah, we got to sell it for $40 though. So we got to make money somewhere. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of GameStop either, but I just think the bigger message of it just shows what you can do when you come together.
That's beautiful. That is great. What else is on the docket today?
All right. I also have this article from Forbes. Biden directs Justice Department to end contracts with private prisons. So let's see. Reviving an Obama-era push to phase out the use of private prisons, President Biden on Tuesday signed an executive order directing the Department of Justice not to renew its contract with privately operated criminal detention facilities as part of a slew of actions geared toward racial equality. The executive order directs the Attorney General to create no new contracts for private prisons, but only applies to the Department of Justice facilities. This means that the order will impact the 12 private prison facilities housing roughly 14,000 inmates that are currently contracted by the DOJ, but not private detention centers
14,000.
contracted by states or by other government agencies such as the Department of Homeland Security. And a total of 116,000 prisoners were held in private detention facilities in the U.S. in 2019. So those under the DOJ's domain make up a small portion. So, unfortunately, it says it's a very small portion. It's only about 12 prisons that are directly affected by this, about 14,000
Yeah, but I'm surprised that 12 prisons hold 14,000 inmates each. I was actually blown away by that. Like, I guess I don't really know all the statistics that well in the first place, so...
Oh, it's 14,000 between all 12.
Oh, between all four. Oh, okay. Or 12, whatever.
Yeah. So, again, it's a small amount, but basically what they're saying in this article, I'm obviously not going to read the whole thing, but they're going to tell you that it's a step towards, I guess, in the right direction for the whole country to eventually do this. But a lot of states, have private prison contracts, so it's going to, come down to a state-by-state basis, things like that. But again, even though it's only a small portion, only about 14,000 people, I think it's a great move. I think I was pretty surprised to hear he did this. Obviously private prisons is a huge problem in this country. Our prison system, I think we've referred to it almost as like slave labor, right? In prisons.
It's because it is.
Yeah.
It is slave labor. Slavery is still legal in the Constitution because of prisons. That's the loophole. So. Yep.
So this is definitely a big step in the right direction, but there's still so much work to be done.
Now, I want to follow that up with something because Biden has enacted a few executive orders at this point. Like he stopped construction of the Keystone Pipeline. He apparently somehow made it easy. I'll put it in the show notes and sources. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Made it easier for people to get their stimulus checks. Now, that doesn't mean he signed in these stimulus checks and they're coming to us. It means those who still haven't even gotten like their other 600, he's making it easier.
Yeah, that fooled me at first. I was like, oh, cool. And then I'm like, oh, wait.
What's some other quote unquote progressive legislation that's coming down the pipeline?
So that's another article I have, is that Democrats are preparing to do this. Basically, Democrats have started to lay the groundwork to pass the next coronavirus relief package without Republican votes, as GOP lawmakers criticize the cost of President Joe Biden's rescue plan. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Democrat, added votes to the chamber's schedule next week that will give us the option of using budget reconciliation to advance a COVID-19 relief package, he told lawmakers Tuesday night. The thorny process would allow Democrats to pass a pandemic aid bill by a simple majority vote in the Senate with no Republican support. Hoyer did not explicitly say Democrats will opt to use reconciliation, as with the Biden administration holds talks with centrist GOP lawmakers and hopes will vote for a relief measure. Still, the move sets up the process to suggest the party has doubts about Republicans providing the House the votes to approve a rescue package. So, that's cool that they're considering. Just like, doing it, just how Republicans did so many things without Democrat approval. So, hopefully that happens, because now word is that, this stimulus could come as late as April, which is, kind of was really disappointing, especially when Joe Biden promised Georgia voters that if Democrats won, they would get a $2,000 stimulus. But, they're making moves now, so hopefully that will expedite the process a little bit.
So I'm going to go through a quick overview, and it'll be in the show notes and sources. There's actually a Federal Register site that has the PDFs of all of the executive orders that President Biden has signed thus far.
Awesome.
Just looking at them in title, I'm not going to go into them in detail. Protecting the federal workforce, economic relief related to the COVID-19 pandemic, a sustainable public health supply chain, supporting the reopening and continuing operation of schools and early childhood education providers, so on and so forth. The specifics will be contained in the actual documents if you decide to look it up. But I'm seeing conservatives get upset about certain things that Biden's doing. So by contrast, it seems like he's doing great stuff, and that's the weird part for me, is like we are seeing this supposedly progressive actions that are being taken by Biden, but why now? Why is this stuff? Why did he not say this on the campaign trail to win any of us over? Why?
Yeah.
Why is this coming now? And I'm just skeptical. I'm gonna be skeptical for a long time. And like I said last episode, and you agreed with me, if we're wrong, awesome. Yep. That would be great. If we are wrong and Biden for some reason has decided, all right, I'm going to win the presidency without left votes by being as centrist as possible and definitely conservative. And then once I get in, for some reason, I'm going to completely change and start putting through really helpful legislation for marginalized peoples. It just seems weird to me, because he could have won by a landslide if he did say that from the beginning. So I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, I know we've been talking off mic a lot about it, and it's a little surprising. It's like, what is the motivator here? My concern, I think, is that he's giving us breadcrumbs so that he doesn't have to give us larger things. Like Medicare for all, or the fact that the cages are still active, right? Like the kids at the border, the cages are. He claimed he was going to get rid of that like day one, but now he's opening up a committee to look into it. You know what I mean? He promised Georgia voters $2,000, thus promising all of us $2,000. Now it's going to be $1,400, because he's saying we actually already got $600 of that $2,000. He's also saying he's open to making changes to that. Maybe people who make a certain amount of money now, he's going to cut it even more so they get less. Even if they are currently unemployed and they made $80,000, they might get screwed over more. So there's little things that are still concerning to me, that almost like the look over here, but really it's the other hand you should be watching,
distractions,
kind of
a sleight of hand, whatever you want to call it, and I think so too. And I think those little things that you're talking about are actually fairly large things that they're just parading this other stuff out in front of us. Like same thing they did with the inauguration. I had a weird feeling in my stomach because there were so many like Latino women and women of color up on that stage during Biden's inauguration. And I was like, wow, like, what are they going to do to these populations during this presidency?
Do they need this?
That, that they're going to be able to point back and be like, oh, no, Biden's not, he loves Latina people. J-Lo saying it his thing, No, Biden loves queer people. Lady Gaga saying it his thing. No, Sotomayor was there, and there was, a woman in the armed forces who's a person of color. Like, Biden loves all these people. He wouldn't dare, try to cut, hypothetically, right? And by hypothetically, I mean it's already happened in the past. It might happen in the future. Cover up the sexual assault and dismemberment of female soldiers, or continue forced hysterectomies in concentration camps. Like that's, and from what I understand, those were put there as an executive order so they can be undone right away. Like it's all him any day he can. And I know people want to be, let's talk about being relieved about Trump being out a little bit, because I don't think we've really gone through that catharsis yet. But we're recording this on January 27th. It's been 6 days since he took office, right?
Yeah.
Or was it
70, something like that.
Yeah, and so some people might see, wow, that's a lot of stuff that's happened in 7 days, but also that's 7 more days of people being in concentration camps. What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, there's other things too. I know people are. This has been covered in other podcasts and news more than we're going to. But for example, Biden picked Lloyd Austin, right, a retired general, to run the Pentagon, and
with the Raytheon connections. Right?
Yeah, and he only retired in 2016, and I think it has to be 8 years before you're supposed to be allowed to, be in this position, and yet...
Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, so they actually voted to break that rule and have him, sworn in, and they did. And Bernie Sanders also voted for this guy. He also voted yes for this guy. So, that's
concerning. That's very concerning.
It's very concerning, and it's why did Bernie vote for him? I don't know. Maybe he, because he got this position as, the budget chair. That was, he's like, all right, I'll vote for this. And, politics is a game. So this guy, he's black, right? So this guy's black, and that's the big headline. It's the first time I think a black man has ever been in charge of the Pentagon, and they're saying, it's groundbreaking and barrier breaking. But just because you're a black person or a person of color doesn't automatically make you the right choice or necessarily a good person, right? You should actually choose a good person who is fit for the job and also could be a person of color. It's don't just make it white people. But, I think that's where kind of the sleight of hand again. It's hey, look, it's a black guy, but it's, he's also not a great guy, and
but they will still choose their hawkish, chained to corporate, person, it'll just be the black version of that
exactly person. And obviously this guy who has not been out of the military very long, he has reasons that he would probably want to be involved in a war, right? So that's a little scary. Biden has talked about possibly increasing troops in Iraq because there was a terrorist attack there a few days ago, about a week ago.
Already, see,
yeah,
and Neera Tanden is all about that imperialism too. She's definitely for it, and she's on the cabinet. This is and this is as somebody who knows what it's like to succumb to identity politics. And I'm not trying to be one of those edgelords who says identity politics isn't important. I'm because I've seen them and I hate them, but I'm trying to be one of those people who's saying you really can't be distracted by the fact that this is the most colorful and gender diverse cabinet when it's people who are looking to who are still going to be enacting the same agenda that the United States has always enacted.
Yeah, we have to hold them equally as accountable as he would like Trump and his picks, right? You know, just don't be distracted by that, and don't think it's automatically better.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what Obama's whole presidency was too.
Yeah,
That's why I voted for him. He's the black guy.
Yep, exactly.
And I wasn't even like that liberal then either.
Yeah, right.
All right, why not?
We were kind of liberal, and it was like, all right, cool. This black guy's gonna be president, and he's gonna do change, hope, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, like that all seemed fine to me.
So, but yeah, so like, you know, again, just to wrap it up, I guess is, you know, Biden has done a few things that seem to be pretty good.
Seem to be, yeah.
And you know, it's there's definitely some positives there, and hopefully that is the trend that continues. But don't be shocked if he's doing things behind, you know, closed doors that you're not paying attention to that are pretty vicious. So make sure you pay attention. Don't get distracted. Read between the lines, some might even say.
Some might say that. I want to talk about Bernie real quick, and not Bernie's position. You know, working with the budget. I mean the Bernie memes that are quote unquote giving people life all around the internet.
What? Never. I haven't seen these.
Well, if even though I know for a fact you're lying, if you're one of those people who hasn't, just look up Bernie sitting meme or Bernie chair meme, and
or Bernie mittens.
Bernie mittens. People have been photoshopping him in a bunch of stuff because of his appearance on Inauguration Day. And, you know, obviously at first it's cute. At another angle, it's kind of sad because it's like, you know, he should have been the guy up there. Although I did tell you, right? Forgetting that this other Bernie meme existed. I was like, then again, I don't see him being the president. Like, I see his place like, you know, on the front lines with a beret and an eye patch, and you know, with a rifle, like leading the revolution. And then you sent me that like sneak
I was like, oh, I've got the image for you.
Which I had totally seen before, but I'd forgotten about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly. But yeah, so there's that angle. There's the sad because it could have been him. But the angle that I'm approaching it from this week is, what makes this so popular? What makes this stand out so much? Because it's a guy who's in the cold, dressed in clothing that you would be dressed in the cold. I'm surprised he didn't have a hat on, but like he really should have. It was kind of irresponsible for him not to. But
we need you, Bernie. We need you.
Protect yourself, yeah, please. But I think it's because we see our politicians so polished and pretty looking and perfect looking,
like Hollywood,
Yeah, which is, you know, like, it is just as much of a show as Hollywood is. It's got the same amount of pageantry and makeup and fashion and wardrobe and everything. And that when we see someone who just looks like a regular dude, that's the weird part to us.
Yeah.
And that's so surreal to me. I don't know why that is.
Oh, I also think not only is it weird, but it's comforting. Like, I think so many people saw a guy sitting there in his mittens, right? Mittens that were actually made for him by a teacher, I think, from Vermont. And like, people were just like so touched by it. Because it just felt like normal, I guess, you know, like he felt like a real person, like a regular person, like you and me. And I think that's kind of what captured people's hearts and made this meme so popular. And they've been hilarious and really fun. But yeah, it's kind of sad that we're just so used to the sparkle and shine of these politicians that, you know, when you see someone who seems very real, it kind of stole the show, right? Like, people were talking more about the Bernie memes than they were Biden being sworn in, and that's I think that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people are more hungry for that than we think, you know, just to see a regular person represented, and like,
especially when people are still out of work and they're being evicted and they don't have a lot of money, they don't have food, and I think just seeing somebody who's just your average Joe. Average Joe Bernie, not Joe Biden.
Yeah, I was gonna
say. It's just like, wow, maybe that's what we really need. But too fucking late, people. So thanks a lot.
Yep, we'll see what happens. We're gonna have to lay in this bed. And I was thinking about it. Because it really is about showmanship, and I'm like Trump, for example, way too done up. Biden, not enough. And like he really should look a lot better for being who he is. And then there's just regular ass Bernie, just an average looking dude.
Yep.
I still, my favorite Bernie meme has probably got to be the bird, when the bird landed on the podium while he was speaking.
That was like pure hope and joy, that moment, right?
Yep. It was like the universe was telling you, like, this has got to be it.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
We're here, folks.
I was watching a GIF of that the other day where everyone just jumps up, starts cheering, and the bird's just looking at him, and he's just like laughing, and you're like, yes, it's like the pure hope energy there, and then it's just fucking like somebody stepped on the bird's neck and broke it. Now we have nothing. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, that was beautiful the way you put that into words. That's accurate.
But, yeah.
So let me talk about this real quick, because I don't remember how much we've got into it or haven't gone out of it, and I've heard people who are still talking about it. So I figured I'd bring it up. We've made ourselves very clear in saying, like, we are not happy that Joe Biden is the president of the United States, and people who are celebrating him, celebrating Kamala, celebrating any of the cabinet, are that their enthusiasm is misplaced. And I know that my skepticism has brought criticism from my immediate circle. And somebody said something. It was on the Daily Zeitgeist. I think it was Miles, and they were talking about covering the inauguration. And he said, like, once he saw that the nuclear codes were no longer in Trump's hands, he like breathed a sigh of relief. It was like a weight off of his shoulders, and I was like, "Huh, I guess I didn't think about that."
Yeah. That's a good.
So,
point.
like, have you had to come to terms with any of this? Like this whole like, I'm glad Trump isn't in office, or have you had that yet, or no,
Nah,
or at all?
I mean, of course I'm glad he's not in office, but whatever. Again, like I think we've discussed, it doesn't change that much for a lot of people. Like people are still going to suffer no matter who's in office. So it's nice not to hear his name all the time. I'll say that much. Like I'm glad. I've mentioned this on the podcast before that I feel like he got his power, almost from people talking about him all the time. So I think it's nice that he's kind of, out of the spotlight, and we don't have to talk about him 24/7, because it was getting really fucking annoying, honestly. Like I just didn't want to hear about him anymore. So supposedly,
to the Democrats, what did Nancy Pelosi email you?
Oh yeah, oh god, yeah, Nancy Pelosi. Because I am a registered Democrat, I will admit I still am, especially with Bernie. I stayed a Democrat. I get emails almost daily from the DNC asking me for donation money. Nancy Pelosi's name's on probably like 75% of them, and it's just the audacity of it to me that this rich person like is begging me for money, you know what I mean? And they're always like, Donald Trump isn't gone forever, we need to stop him. Like it's almost like I don't know, they're like talking about like
he was such a strength to them, it seems. Like he's the boogeyman,
They need him. They need him.
Trump.
They need him. So it's just kind of like it's just crazy to me, But that's what they do. And they need somebody to put the blame on. So I guess that's what we're gonna keep doing for a while. And apparently Trump has said he's gonna start his own political party, and so it's not over, but it's just nice not to hear his name all the time. How about you?
Well, I had been the person who was really, shitting in everyone's cereal as often as I could, because I watched the inauguration. I had feelings while I was watching it, and I think just my being disillusioned with capitalism as a whole and with the system kind of put a damper on any silver lining that I might have been able to glean from the transfer of power.
Yeah.
I remember Biden saying a lot of specific keywords in his speech, and just knowing that they were shallow, that there was nothing behind them, trying to, once again, the reason I didn't vote for him, I looked at his record as to who he was as a person, who he was as a politician, somebody who has command over other people's lives, who can really change things. And to hear him spout like, oh, I'm here gonna work for all Americans, and racial inequality is a problem, and I don't know, just it was rough. And then to see people sharing memes like, ladies, make sure you're wearing your shoes, there's glass all over the place, because Kamala is the new vice president. Like, she shattered a glass ceiling, but like realistically, she was just chosen by a man. Like, she dropped out of the race and then was chosen
because she
by
was
a man.
polling horribly. Like, I think people forget, like, everyone talks about how much they love her, but she was running for president and doing horribly, and like, she had to drop out because she had no path forward. So I think that's important to remember that, and now that you've been told that she is, so great, now we should love her, now you love her.
Yeah, and like, I know people who, a couple months ago, or before, not a couple months ago now, it's actually been quite a few, but like before November might not have even known who Kamala Harris was. And it's like, all right, like, as a guy who has always seen men in positions of power, is it my place to say how you should feel about a woman holding that office? Probably not. However,
as a human being that doesn't want to see other human beings suffer, I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, like, you shouldn't just be happy to see this stuff on the surface, to see, oh, it's not Trump, so it's okay. Oh, it is a black woman, so it's okay. My ideal cabinet is full of people of color and different genders, and and all across, not just one of two genders, but one of many. Like, because I feel you should represent the people you serve. And it's taken a while for it to catch up there, but like, just put good people, put people who have values in there, and if they're not there, just even if you are happy, be like, I'm glad that Trump is out of office. Don't lose the energy where it's, I have to hold these elected officials accountable.
Yep.
I even though I may be glad Trump's out of office, like, I can't just be like, oh, well, let's give Biden a break because he had so much to clean up. No, fucking get to work. That's why you were voted in the middle of a crisis to be the commander in chief. So get to work.
Yeah, I mean, you have to hold all, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden. I mean, and I think there are some really, really talented and intelligent, female politicians out there. I hated Hillary, but she was really definitely, qualified for the job. Being the president.
100%.
Look at AOC, right? Like, I know the left, has been giving her a lot of shit lately. She seems to have kind of lost her way a little bit. But, on Inauguration Day, she was out, at a strike, instead of being at the inauguration. And, like, that's the kind of stuff that I think got people behind her, that won their allegiance a little bit for her, because she was showing that she cared about the people who was out there. And she's been getting held accountable a lot lately, and she went out there and she helped bring attention to the strike. So it's you want to see more of that,
which is what an elected official should do.
Yep.
Yes, young woman of color who is working class, that's great. But also, it is not enough. You do have to be held accountable. And more so, if you not only do you get called out, but if you listen to getting called out, because you do represent the people. I think that just being able to say, okay, maybe I was wrong, or all right, well, let me try it this way. I think that is the most important part of being a leader in any position, let alone public office.
Yes. Yep. Agreed. In terms of serious newsworthy stuff, that's all I got today.
I didn't want to get too serious, but I do have to bring it up. The King Kong vs. Godzilla trailer,
Ooh.
or Godzilla vs. King Kong, however you want to say it, has dropped. And what were your feelings on it again, Ty? You weren't overly moved, were you?
I mean, I thought it was cool. I've been excited for it. I enjoyed all the films leading up to it for the most part. I think this is going to be more divisive than Republicans versus Democrats. You got to choose between King Kong and Godzilla, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but they've made Kong kind of the hero based on the trailer. So that'll be interesting to see. But Godzilla's the king of the monsters, so can't count him out either.
Yeah, I think they're really they're playing their cards close to the chest. I'm going to just go based off my other Godzilla knowledge here, which actually isn't that extensive. But you have the third movie. They've thrown a bunch of monsters at you in the second one already. Now they're bringing it back to two. You throw in Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna be smart enough to tell the difference unless we get up close. So we're gonna be like, "Oh, it's Godzilla!"
Yeah.
Now, I've never been a Kong fan. I did enjoy Kong Skull Island for what it was. It was definitely a fun flick. But I've never been like overtly, into, the big monsters or even the kaiju. Really, I do think they're really cool, but I'm not that guy. However, there was a moment where something in me changed. Where I was pro Godzilla. And they're right on that vessel, and Kong just straight up fucking bang, like hits him with the business, with the right cross, and I was like, wow, I'm a convert, man. I'm a King Kong.
Yeah,
fan.
you were
Incredible.
texting me. You're like, I'm all in on Kong. I'm like, oh
Yep,
shit,
that was
all right.
it.
That's all it took was him punching something. Well, here's the thing. So like, it most likely is Mechagodzilla because they've established Godzilla as being also a heroic character, right? So how do you get these two heroic characters to fight? You mislead everybody. But Godzilla's always been, I thought, like the coolest like giant monster ever. But Kong has always been like a very like sympathetic character. Because Godzilla's been bad, he's been good, he's been neither. Where Kong is always like, he's just a wild animal that's kidnapped and eventually killed, and that's generally his ending. So I think he's always been very sympathetic. So it's kind of cool to see him painted not only like sympathetically, but like as a heroic like protector too.
When you do think about these characters, and as you're saying this, I think that we should review the movie when it comes out.
Yeah, why not? They deal with a lot of like the planet and how it's reacting to humans and radioactive stuff, and so there's actually a lot to talk about when you really break these movies down.
Well, yeah, and just the origins of both of these characters, and dare I say icons. You have King Kong, who there are multiple texts which I'll have in the show notes for that episode in the future that relate his struggle as to the allegory of the struggle of African Americans in the United States,
being kidnapped from your home and being taken to be sold off as a commodity, so it's there. And then also you have Godzilla who represents atomic anxiety. Godzilla was what happened shortly after Hiroshima, and you see this monster of nuclear energy that we have created that is coming to destroy humanity. It was woken up by those bombs. And they did bring a lot of that into the new Godzilla lore as well. So like these icons represent two very very potent themes, subject matter, whatever you want to call it. They represent a lot more than just two monsters that are punching each other in the face and using energy blasts. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things again where you can take it at face value and just be like, cool, I like watching monsters fight. Or if you want to delve a little deeper, you can learn a little bit more about the world, a little bit about history and what they really represent.
Yeah, all right, I'm for it. I'm ready for that. Did you know that the song used in the trailer is from a guy who is famous only for making songs for movies?
Oh, really?
Like he doesn't release any of his own music to the consumers. Like it's literally like I think his top earning song right now. And I'm taking all this information from the Daily Zeitgeist, so I'll have to go to their notes to get it for hours. But I think the Witch Doctor from Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel. I think that is his currently his like top charted song.
I like the original Witch Doctor song, but that's fine.
Well, of course, who doesn't? What else, man?
I mean, it's been an interesting like 2 weeks. Not to go into detail, but I had some personal stuff happen, and I had a little more free time at home, and I decided to give the MCU a watch. So I watched a whole bunch of MCU films, and you joined me for a few of them as well.
Indeed, I did. By joined everybody, I was in my home.
Oh,
he
yes,
was in
yes.
his home. We sync up.
It's pretty impressive, actually. And yeah, it was, it really didn't realize like how much joy it brought me, as silly as it sounds, just watching these movies. I watched Thor 2: The Dark World. I watched Guardians 2. I watched The Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Ragnarok. And then you and I synced up and watched Infinity War and Endgame, and it was cool, man. I think we really delved into it. We got to talk about what made these movies so special, and it is pretty incredible.
Really would have made great Patreon content, and we just did not do it.
We just didn't do it. Oh well.
Then the next one, whatever movie that is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We watched Spider-Verse too, but even though it's technically not MCU. But yeah, it was just it's just an incredible feat to think in 2008 when we went to go see Iron Man, we had no idea what this was going to turn into, right? I think it's pretty incredible that they were able to do all these films, tie them together, all these years and all these different directors and crew and cast and bring everyone together ultimately for these last two Avengers films, where they got to send off several of these characters and just tie everything up. For the most part, pretty neatly. Is it perfect? No, but those emotional highs were pretty great. And one thing that we discussed was how theaters, we don't know the future of movie theaters. And for us, Avengers Endgame was one of the last really big films that we got to see in the theater. And it's that moment where Cap says Avengers Assemble or uses the hammer, and the audience really just went wild, right? They just went absolutely crazy and just started screaming and clapping, and it was such an amazing energy to be a part of, and that's always been one of my favorite things about those kind of opening night films, whether it be Star Wars or even Transformers or the Avengers. You get that energy from the crowd, and it's just amazing. And I don't know if movie theaters are going to recover, and even if they do, I don't know if there'll ever be another film that kind of hits that for us. We're getting older. I feel like we've seen the highest point for us in terms of that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting thing to reflect back on and just think, I don't know if we'll ever experience that again.
Well, first off, spoilers for Endgame. If you haven't seen it.
Well, shame on you if you haven't seen it yet.
Seriously.
While you're listening to us, go fucking watch it.
But yeah, it is amazing to look back at it and to see when you really do take a step away from everything, that these are characters who have changed throughout these movies, and this choice that they made in this movie kind of makes sense because of what happened to them 4 movies ago. There's an incredible rewatchability. There's it is uncanny that just they chose Robert Downey Jr. They had Jon Favreau, who before had been I would say a B-list comedic actor.
Yeah, he was on Friends and shit. That's what he was known for.
He was in Swingers and all these other things. He was kind of that guy. And the thing is, if Iron Man failed, the MCU doesn't happen.
Yep.
And it was luckily a hit. And luckily they've had enough hits because not every movie was, but you knew you could always expect a good film, with a pretty basic, I don't mean basic in an insulting way, but you're going to get a good formula and a good film.
I would argue the Iron Man films are some of the weakest in the MCU, and yet Robert Downey Jr. may be the strongest part of the MCU. So it's kind of strange to kind of break it down.
That makes sense though. Yeah. I mean, it is when you talk about just having that energy in the movie theater, and I know those are all my favorite moments. The few theater claps that I got was Endgame one of them when Cap says, "Let's go get that son of a bitch."
I think so. Yeah.
Did I clap? I think that was it. It
Yep.
was Heath Ledger's pencil trick in The Dark Knight. He played the Joker. It wasn't just Heath Ledger. And I think Megan Fox in Transformers 2, just her first appearance on screen.
Yep.
I'm not proud of that one, but it is wild. You got to think, like, will people ever be able to go to movies and experience that the same way we were able to?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I know a lot of people like watching stuff at home, and like, you've gone and gotten popcorn from the movie theater and watched at home. And listen, there's definitely like a nice comfort to that, and it's become easier and easier. But to me, there just will, nothing will ever be able to replace that movie going experience that, where you can just tune everything else out. You turn your phone off. You mostly don't talk unless you're during a movie, and you try to just pay attention to the film. And I think it's so hard to disconnect at home that same way. And again, to be surrounded by people who have the same feelings as you, pretty much. A lot of these people going are fans. They're really excited, and again, to feed off that energy and be a part of that is just something special. And that's not even just movie going, right? We were discussing cons and stuff as well, right? Like, New York Comic Con. We've been going for a long time. I can't even remember the first year we went. It was the second.
Might have been 2008, 2009. It might have been 2007.
Yeah, I think we were in high school, so it might have been 2007.
Yeah.
I think it was the second year of New York Comic Con, so it was probably somewhere around there. And ever since then, we pretty much went every single year afterwards. And some of my best memories are from those cons, spending time with my best friends and
100%.
my brother, and being around fellow fans, and, meeting celebrities and just buying cool shit. And, unfortunately, you weren't able to make it this past, the last one that happened.
Worst part is that I was like, if I wanted to, I could have gone. Like, there were people who were like, "Oh, if you couldn't afford it, I would have given it." And I was just like, "Well, I got to be available to act in case I get a gig." And
right.
I mean, that day I did meet Matt Eisman of American Ninja Warrior.
Hey, there you go.
I almost won $1,000 on a trivia podcast called Factorious.
Oh, damn!
But I did not.
I didn't even know that.
And then I was just chilling out in the city that day.
Yeah, I just went the one day too. So but it's weird to think that with COVID we might never get that again. COVID has really changed the world around us, and obviously the bigger pictures. People being out of work and losing their jobs and their homes. People getting sick or dying or, having medical bills. That's the really important stuff. But, if you really start to break it down, it has affected so much more than that. It's also, affected just things that people look forward to, going on vacations, going to conventions, going to the movie theater. And it's going to be kind of wild to look back in a year or 2 years from now and see, how much we've been able to recover, and if we ever really will.
I think growing up with shit really made those years better because, like, I was never the person who got to go to, like, events and stuff. So when I was finally able to have my own agency, my own money, and I could go to these events on my own, like, even the worst Comic-Con was still great because, like you said, it was something we looked forward to every year. I look forward to it every year more than I looked forward to Christmas, believe it or not. And last year was the only year I took it for granted because I didn't go. But there are literally every year we go. I said it the other day, right? Like, we're like, it's not as good as that one time. It's not as good as that one time. But, like, it's still like it's still a fun, solid time. And more so, I'm not sad for us not being able to go. Because, like I said, every year it's just a little less magical, and I think it's more so because we're adults and the stuff is more mainstream, so everyone's there. There are people who are getting autographs not just because they love the creators, but because they want to sell their stuff. And but I think last year, just because I was like, I'll get it next year. Like, that was the only year I took it for granted. But yeah, so I'm not really sad for us because I feel like we've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my movie going experiences. I got to see Endgame in theaters, which is, like, at least for my generation, I feel like in my life, like, the movie going experience. The culmination of all those films. And we'll delve into them at a later date because there is a lot of propaganda that comes from those films, and some pearls of wisdom also. So we'll discuss it at a later date. But but there are people who might not ever get that. They might not ever get that theater clap again. They might not, ever get to go to a convention and be like, wow, like, there's a bunch of people who are into the same shit that I'm into. and I'm the only one I know who's into it. So like, this is amazing. All the friends I'm making, all the cool stuff I'm seeing, like that. I feel bad for those people who aren't ever going to be able to experience.
Yeah, I mean, my fondest memories were, over the summer getting together with all my friends and going to the movies. And sometimes we saw some really shitty films, some really terrible stuff. But, it was just the enjoyment of going with that group. And again, just that energy that, like you said, there's so many people that may not get to experience that. And that's really a shame. It's really a shame because it seems, as much as we love, all this technology and stuff we can do at home, it does definitely, it pulls people apart a little bit. It's harder to connect with people the same way, and it's like, back in my day, we didn't have cell phone, that kind of stuff. But, I hope people can keep finding ways to connect. Luckily we were able to do that by, syncing up and watching these movies at home. So.
Yeah, or just playing the same video game. Like, as somebody who has been, like, literally quarantining 98% of the time, I can tell you, like, just even if you're in your own home, but communicating with other people, and I don't mean texting, I mean some sort of voice communication, it makes a huge difference. You could feel like that person's right in the room with you sometimes, and, just you listening to this podcast. I don't know if you're like me, but the reason I got into podcasts is because for one reason or another, I'll figure it out whenever I get into therapy. Like, I cannot stand to just be alone and not have any stimulation. Like, I need to hear people talking to me. So if you're one of those people, like, our voices mean that to you. Like, so just think about that. If you're holed up and this is a terrible time for you, because for some people it is. I think I've gotten past the worst of it for me, and knowing that I've already had all the worst parts of my life happen to me, save for a few loved ones' deaths that'll come in the future, I'm like, you know what, I can get through this. And I think that's just me, and I know it's not necessarily that easy.
No, but I think it's important to find things that bring you happiness, and if it's watching an MCU movie or playing Ghost of Tsushima at home or whatever it might be, just find something that gives you a little joy from this very stressful world that we live in, especially, with all the stuff that's happened over the last, year and change.
And share those things with someone you love, because that makes it all the sweeter. Let's put it this way. Everybody wants a happy ending, right? But it doesn't always roll that way. Maybe this time, I'm hoping if you play this back, it's in celebration. I hope families are reunited. I hope we get it back, and it's something like a normal version of the planet has been restored. If ever there was such a thing. God, what a world. Universe now. If you told me 10 years ago that we weren't alone, let alone, to this extent, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised, but come on. That epic forces of dark and light have come into play. And for better or worse, that's the reality Morgan's going to have to find a way to grow up in. So I thought I'd better record a little greeting in case of an untimely death on my part. I mean, not that death at any time isn't untimely. This time travel thing. Fuck, I had it until then. I'm just going to leave it. Wait, should I do it? Should I finish it off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This time travel thing we're going to try and pull off tomorrow, it's got me scratching my head about the survivability of it all. And again, that's the hero gig. Part of the journey is the end. What am I even tripping for? Everything's gonna work out exactly the way it's supposed to. I love you 3000. And with that little note, you can find us on Twitter at PolitiPopPod, Instagram at PolitiPopPodcast. You can email us, let us know your thoughts at PolitiPopcast@gmail.com. You can find our show notes and sources at PolitiPopPodcast.wordpress.com. Special thanks to all of you listeners. We do love you 3000 here. We are at the most downloads we've ever been monthly, and I think we're gonna break, continue breaking it before the end of the month is over. So so thank you so much for that. I didn't realize just how applicable Tony Stark's monologue would be. Sorry.
Yeah. That's kind of wild.
Hopefully getting back a normal version of the Earth, if ever there was such a thing. But anyway, remember, we do have a Patreon, but don't worry about it. The best thing you can do is on your podcatcher of choice, ideally if it's Apple Podcasts, you can rate and review us. Give us a 5-star rating and review. It would mean a lot, just like Crowley's at the beginning. For the PolitiPop podcast, I have been Mike Booch.
I've been Ty.
And remember, no matter what you're watching, no matter what you're listening to, no matter what you're playing, no matter what escapism you're enjoying and hopefully sharing with somebody that you love and care about, appreciate the little things, and never stop thinking, never stop learning, and read between the lines.
And scene.
It always feels good to hear you say it.
Feels good to say.
That's why I listen.
That's why I talk.
Okay.